Hey friends, welcome back to Canvas and Conversations. I'm Devin with Mind Over Mata, and today's spotlight interview is a really special one. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Annathia of Sagely Poetry. We talk about their journey with poetry and short stories, their experience publishing books, and the goals and hurdles they're currently navigating as a creative. This conversation is soft, reflective, and deeply meaningful, touching on creativity, grief, legacy, and what it looks like to keep showing up for your art even when life feels heavy. So get comfy, take a breath, and join us for this heart to heart conversation. Hey, everybody, welcome to Canvas and Conversations. This is Devin with Mind Over Mata, and we are currently starting another spotlight interview. I have Annathia here with me today, and let's get to it. Annathia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. This is so exciting.
I know, I'm excited too. So go ahead and jump right into it. Share a little bit about yourself, what kind of creative work that you do.
Of course. So, I am Annathia Sagely, and I am a writer primarily. I've dabbled in a few other creative projects here and there. I have been writing poetry and short stories since I was 14 years old. I published my first poetry book, Sinking with the Roots, in December of 2021. So it's the anniversary this month, followed by my mom's poetry book, Bravely Breezy, in September of 2022. And finally, my second poetry book, Waking Nightmares, in October of 2023. I have also been editing videos since I was 16 years old. I've made my own music videos, lip syncing to my favorite songs. And a few years ago, I directed, filmed, and edited a music video for my friend's band.
Wow, that's awesome. How'd that go?
It was fun. We went to a big lake out in Utah and we filmed on location, and it was very fun. It was a beautiful day, and we were there for maybe like 3 or 4 hours just doing all kinds of B-roll and lip syncing, and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Did it come out already? Or are you still working on it?
Well, the band unfortunately is no longer together, so it will not reach the surface, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it's still fun to look back on. It was good practice.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Do you think you'll do more in the future?
I would like to, if the opportunity ever arises.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you kind of choreograph where they were supposed to go, or it was more of the filming aspect of it?
We kind of just were off the cuff for the most part. We had a good outline of what shots we wanted to get, and then my friend improvised dancing and, the walking and everything.
Nice. That's awesome. What a great project to look back on.
Oh yeah, it was a really good time.
Yeah. So you said 14 years you've been writing?
Since I was 14.
Oh, since you were 14. Oh, wow.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think that's 16 years.
Yeah. So what kind of got you into it? What started your inspiration, the inkling to write at 14?
Well, my mother encouraged me and taught me how to write poetry. She told me that when I had strong emotions that I didn't understand, writing would help me transform them into something comprehensible. She really was the main drive there. And then as I got older, I took many creative writing classes from middle school to college so that I could learn and hone my skills in writing short stories. My favorite genres to write are mystery and horror.
Nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned the two books that you wrote for poems. Do you think you'll do a book for short stories as well?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of my goals within the next year is to compile all my short stories, refine them, edit them, and put them into a book.
Are you going to put them in like separate books, or are you going to do it kind of like a compilation?
I think separate would be good because I have some that are, I have different themes in each of them. So I think I would do like a horror themed one, and then maybe a thriller themed one, and then a love story themed one. We'll see. We'll see where it all takes me.
That absolutely makes sense, though, to do it kind of by category or genre, if you will. But
Hmm.
that's really cool. Are you wanting to do pictures with them or just more of just story?
Yes, I have a really great illustrator who gets my vision every time. And so I would definitely want them illustrated. I think that adds more whimsy and excitement, more story, exactly, more visual aspect for some people that might have a hard time with visualizing things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love pictures with books as well. It just kind of encourages that imagination a little bit further, I think.
me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, would you prefer one or the other as far as like short stories versus poetry, or is it all just encompassed in the same sort of passion and interest level?
Yeah, I would say that they're encompassed in the same interest and passion. I love both of them equally.
What made you decide to publish your poem books before publishing your short story books?
Well, I was going through my old poem journals and I was reading a lot of them and I thought to myself, these are pretty good. I think like I just need to refine some of the wording and the stanza organization. And I think I could really make something here. And yeah, I started writing during a really difficult time in my life. I was going through a lot of traumatic experiences, and writing poetry really got me through them. And reflecting back on those times while going through my journal was really healing. And I thought maybe if I published it all into one book, it could help someone else who's gone through similar things.
Yeah, 100%. So, when you got your first published book, how did it feel?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was quite healing to get all of my emotions out and watch them blossom and bloom the more I worked on it. And being able to hold it too was really, really cool.
Yeah, like, just having the physical item that said, "I made this," I
Yeah,
bet felt really, really good.
it did.
Yeah. That's awesome, though. I mean, not to come from heartache, but to triumph from that and come through it with something physical that could help others is
Yep.
incredible. Would this be more of like a part-time passion hobby thing, or are you wanting this to be more of a full-time job eventually?
Yes, I would love for this to be a full-time job and monetarily sustainable.
Mhm.
That is the dream that I'm currently trying to manifest.
Yeah. So what are some of the goals that you're trying to gear towards to make that happen?
Well, I would love to start making journals and planners to begin with, just to get a bit more experience with publishing and be able to occupy my time. And I would want to keep at my new YouTube channel too. I've really enjoyed learning how to use Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing. That would be a good way to occupy my time as well, managing my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, I think that since you're already published as far as your poems, you have the goal to publish your short stories in individual genres. You have your YouTube channel. I mean, you're headed in the right direction. It's only a matter of time where it kicks off.
True, yeah. Yeah, sometimes there's a good lull before things really happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like with
Mhm.
anything,
Yes,
have to
exactly.
have to work it up.
There's a calm before the storm.
Oh, yes, yes. It might seem calm at first, but it's stirring underneath.
It is. Absolutely.
And then it explodes.
Yes. Well, yeah, and just like, when I was writing when I was so young, I didn't think anything was going to come of it.
Yeah.
Um, and then sure enough, when I hit my 20s, it did.
So, you keep them in a journal, or do you have scraps of pieces of paper of whenever it spurs the moment? How does your creative process work as far as getting it all on to paper?
I am a very organized person, so I keep them all in journals.
That's
I
good.
have probably 6 full journals. Every page is full.
That's awesome. That's
Mhm.
good. How often do you think you write? I mean, do you write daily? Do you write a full poem each day? I mean, what's your overall work schedule?
It depends on my mood mainly and what I have going on. Sometimes I can't, commit to writing every day. But if I am in a creative block of some sort, I try to do writing prompts. So for a while there, I was writing a mini poem every day. So it's just like 4 lines of a poem. And that was really helping keep my creativity sharp.
Yeah. Have you done those, what are they called? Haikus? Did I pronounce that right? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
4 lines of
I
Japanese writing?
Yeah, I have only written a handful of haikus. I need to write more of them. My one of my teachers in high school kind of got in my head about how they need to be structured, and so like I don't know, haikus are a little daunting for me just for that reason.
Yeah, hitting those specific rules and structures can be a little bit more challenging, but
Absolutely.
when I've read a couple of haikus, they're so clever. I'm like, "Wow,
I
you,
know.
uh, had a whole conversation in 4 lines."
Yeah, and it's like, how did you do that?
Yeah, yeah, it's impressive.
Mhm,
So, when you talked about the prompts, is it just from anything as far as poem writing to short stories? Like, when you're doing a prompt, do you have every intention it's going to be a poem, or have every intention it's gonna be a short story before you start that prompt? Or is it just whatever kind of flows out of you?
Ooh, good question. Yes, it's whatever flows out. I kind of just base it off of instinct and how the prompt makes me think about the project at hand, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess based off your experience, it's kinda easy to flow into that, but for someone that's new to writing, how would you suggest them manage the prompt? Because, for example, I'm a terrible writer. I wish I could write more fluently and more aesthetically pleasing. I've never been very strong at writing, but I've always been interested in poems and being able to put my emotions on paper. My form of creativity is usually throwing paint on a canvas or something like that, more
Mhm.
visual, but I would like to take words and put them into meaning. But I guess for a newbie like me, how would you suggest taking those prompts and starting from the beginning? Because for you, with how many years you've been doing this, you can take a prompt and be like, okay, I'm going to do XYZ with it, right? But for me, I'm
Mhm.
like, I panic. I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Sure. Sure, absolutely. Well, the thesaurus is my best friend. The dictionary is also my best friend, just to make sure that I'm using words correctly.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I would say just start doing it. Whatever it is you want to try out, whether it be drawing, writing, painting, crocheting, sewing, singing, dancing. The list goes on and on. Just give it a try, otherwise you won't know. And I think creating a space, a good workspace where you can really hone your skills and focus and kind of meditate on what you want to do with your writing is the best way to get your words out. Just putting the pen to paper and getting started.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you really like having access to the dictionary and stuff like that. How often
Mhm.
do you just look up words apart from writing? Because there was this app at one point that I had, which I think I might install it again, but it's just like word of the day, and
Mm.
it's just learning a new word. And so I'm just curious on how often you're learning new words at the rate of how much you write. And I feel like you're vocabulary is stocked up.
It sure is. Yes, it definitely is. When I really sit down and start writing, that's when those words really come out. I look to the dictionary anytime I'm writing anything, as well as the thesaurus, because it's sometimes you can get word fatigue and you want to come up with different words like synonyms that flow better, that invoke more imagination, invoke more of what you're really trying to say, instead of just the sky is blue.
Blue.
Yeah, you can say, let's see, the canvas in the air lights up like an azure light bulb, something like that.
So you just mix it up
Mhm.
with different words. I guess that's the art of poems, right? Because instead of just saying what you're going to say with plain words, normal
Mhm.
words, I don't know what to call simple words.
Simple words. Mhm.
Yeah, it's just the art of communicating what you're feeling in a little bit more complex way, I guess.
Mhm. Yes.
Are you ever nervous that someone might misinterpret your poems?
That has been a challenge that I face, just dealing with that self-doubt and the desire for my work to convey the way that I want it to. But as someone who publishes art, it's going to be interpreted how it's going to be interpreted. And as an artist, you kind of have to let go of that expectation, because that's like trying to control what people think. And, however your art is interpreted is beautiful for that person, however it may be interpreted.
Yeah. Would you say that your poems are written mainly when you're feeling a lot of intense emotions, or do you like to write poems when it's a normal day as well?
I would say most are trying to understand my intense emotions. And I have written a few like whimsical day in the life kind of things. I don't think I've managed to put any of them in my published work.
Yeah. So, have you ever experienced any challenges during this writing journey of yours?
There are definitely a few. I haven't faced nearly as many as other published authors have, as I've chosen to self publish through Amazon. But that platform probably isn't the best for self publishing authors for a few reasons. But I chose it so that my work comes out exactly as I want it. Editing my own work that I've looked at a million times can become tiring, and and sometimes typos happen still. Staying consistent with posting to Instagram and YouTube so that my subscribers and followers stay interested has been a recent challenge that I'm learning how to navigate. And as I said before, dealing with the self doubt and desire for my work to come across correctly for my audience is an internal struggle I've dealt with consistently.
Yeah. What made you decide to go on YouTube and start sharing your poems on there?
Well, I realized that though I have a good amount of followers on Instagram, I don't know the exact number, but I have more than I thought I was going to have. I wasn't getting much engagement with what I posted. I would get likes and views, but not really a whole lot of comments. And I've heard from multiple people that YouTube is the way to go if you want engagement and if you want more eyes on your stuff. So,
I've looked at your YouTube as of recently and noticed that when you do post a video of your poem, it's kind of more B roll and like kind of similar to a music video as far as like the layout of it. And then you read the poem with the captions on the front. What made you decide to use that style as far as promoting your poems?
yeah, I just combined my passions of video editing and poetry. I think that it makes a more interesting video. It grasps your attention. With some of the videos that I've made, the poem tells a story, and I have the B-roll going in the background, and my editing conveys the story that the words are saying. So it's been a really fun avenue to explore because, like I said, I've been editing videos since I was 16, and I'm self-taught, and it's been fun to play with the effects and make it look interesting and then put my words on top of it. It's just more enjoyable for me, I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think I would agree with that visual assistance and conveying a little bit of more of what you're trying to say and
Mhm.
having some of that imagination with what you imagine it to be.
Yes.
So, one of my favorites so far that I've listened to is Harvest Equinox. Do
Mm.
you mind kind of talking a little bit more about that poem and kind of what stirred that idea? Because you mentioned bodies, and I was curious about, and I thought it was going to turn into this kind of creepy Halloween story. But then in the video, it shows all these leaves, and then the person falling into the leaves, and I was like, "Ooh." I was
Yeah.
like
Yeah, so my inspiration for the poem came from one of my mom's poems with the same name, and hers was more of like a lover scorned kind of
Oh,
thing.
okay, okay.
And so I was really inspired by that when I was working on my Waking Nightmares book, which is horror poetry. And I was thinking in that same vein of a lover scorned, of someone who metaphorically, to keep the spooky theme, literally buries their past lovers. And so my idea for the video was one of the lovers walking along, and then as they fall into the leaves, that's when they were
Ah,
yeah, mhm, that's
okay,
when they were kind of attacked or.
okay, okay. I get that now, that makes a lot of sense because I was like,
Yeah.
"Why is this person falling into the leaves?"
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt kind of a spooky vibe from it, but I
Mhm.
did very much enjoy the, like, choice of words, and I love fall, and so it was just it kind of some of the things that you mentioned in the poem, I was like, "Oh, that hits home. I get that." And then it
Yes.
it it talked about bodies, I was like, "Whoa, I don't
Wait a minute.
where is this headed?" And then it ends, and I'm like, "Wait, come back. I wanna know more."
It's funny that you mentioned that because I did start my YouTube channel in October,
Oh, yeah?
like end of September, because I figured I would get more engagement because it's spooky season. And so I was like, well, I'll just upload my horror poems to start, and then that would kind of gain more traction.
Right.
So now I've started to do my regular poems. All the other ones that I've done recently are from my book, Sinking with the Roots.
Nice. So do you
Hmm.
think you'll incorporate your short stories as well with your YouTube channel, or is it just mainly focused on poetry?
Oh, yeah, I think that would be really neat to do. I hadn't even considered,
Oh.
to be honest. No, I think that would be great though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then they'd be more long form.
Yeah, well, and just having audiobooks, I mean, audiobooks is such a huge thing nowadays, and then
Hmm.
having maybe, some of that, like, storytelling B-roll that you have incorporated with it would be also a nice visual for those short stories, I imagine.
Yes, my goodness, that's a great idea. Now I'm getting all kinds of inspiration coming to me.
Good, good. I'm glad
Yeah.
because I would love to watch those little short stories that you made as well because the poems are great. Having
Thank you.
those longer form content
Hmm.
available as well, not just the poems, but your short stories, that would be really cool to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll get working on
Now
that.
that could be another goal.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you plan on sharing all the poems that you published, or is it just sort of whatever kind of inspires you to post at the time? Like, how do you go about deciding which ones you post on YouTube?
Yeah, I think whatever I can imagine a visual for is usually when I post. Also, I try to pick shorter ones just for the time being because I want to see how my audience likes the videos before I spend extra time on it. So, yeah, I read through my book and pick that way, whichever one inspires some kind of visual aid.
Yeah. So you and I met through book club, actually, for those
Yeah,
of you that don't know. And so you're definitely a reader, I assume, because you're a writer. You can read and get inspiration and stuff. Do you have any favorite authors, like as far as poem writers or just writers that you would
mm,
recommend other people to read?
great question. I adore Pablo Neruda for poems. I also really like Emily Dickinson and Shel Silverstein, of course. His poems are very whimsical, but they get real at times. You're just kind of like, oh, dang. Um, as far as regular books go, I really like Joe Hill. Horns is my favorite book of his, and Heart Shaped Box is also very good. Let's see. I don't really read any new books or new authors. I'm very much an old soul that way.
Yeah.
I love to read just old books, old thrillers, mystery. Jane Eyre is pretty good as well. I I can honestly say I haven't finished a Jane Eyre book, but I do really like her writing style. I just have a short attention span. It has nothing to do with her.
Gotcha. So, would you say that there are out of these books that you and authors that you mentioned, is there any that you kind of try to come back to at a certain time? Like, you know how someone always has a book that they like to read once a year just out of the
Mm,
nostalgia or the comfort of it, but sometimes each time they read it, they get something new or different from it? Have you ever
mhm.
had that experience?
Not really, but I would say that there is a book series that I love to go back to and really draw inspiration from. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I love that series. I know it's for like, well, I don't know if it's for children, but I read it as a child. um, but the illustrations are just magnificent and invoke such terror, and it's so exciting to read each story, and each story has a twist too. And I always find myself going back to those and feeling inspired and a little spooked.
That's called Scary Stories Told in the Dark?
Scary stories to tell in the dark.
To Tell in the Dark. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Cool. I'll check that
yeah.
out. Now I'm curious.
They're very neat.
Well, and the illustrations too, it sounded like that they go hand in hand, so that's nice. I'm definitely a more visual person.
Yes, that series is actually what inspired me to make Waking Nightmares because, like I said, I started reading those books when I was a child, and they were really exciting for me to read each time a new one came out. And so when I had more experience under my belt with publishing Sinking with the Roots and then my mom's book, Bravely Breezy, that was when I was like, okay, you know what? It's time for some fun stuff. And I think horror is really fun. And so why not just kind of, you know, write horror poems and have them illustrated in the same way? And I told my illustrator, you know, my idea, and he immediately got it. And he said, okay, so pencil drawings. And I'm like, "Exactly, that's exactly what I want." Like, he got it immediately.
That feels good to have someone
Mhm.
that kinda connects with your work like that.
Absolutely.
When do you feel probably the most creative or inspired? Like, is it a space or mindset or, I don't know, people? I mean, when do you feel like creating?
Sure. Yeah, I would say sometimes it's pretty random. It's just kinda whenever inspiration hits. I would say, though, when I'm the most inspired is when I take time out of my day to be inspired. So I'll turn off my phone, go outside where it's just me, my pen, my journal, and Mother Nature. I love sitting under trees, in the grass, listening to all the ambiance that nature has to offer. That really helps.
Yeah, definitely. So this might be a silly question, but I love pens and I love journals. But half of the journals that I have, I've not filled just because I like the journal more than I actually like to write in it. I don't want to ruin it.
That's so fair.
But do you have a specific type of journal that you usually like cling to? Because I know that some artists, they choose the same journal and they just have them like different
Mm.
color coded. Like, do you have a system as far as like your journals and your pens and like how you organize? Do you have a journal specifically meant for your horror slash creepy poems as well as short stories, or is it sort of random?
Yeah, great question. With my short stories, I just use regular ruled spiral notebook because the pages are bigger. And for my poems, I like just the standard hardcover. I don't know the exact term, where it's like a bound spine. I really like the journals that have pockets in them. So if I do end up writing on a scrap of paper, I can just stick it in the pocket and then it's all together in the same book. I also like when they have bookmarks,
Yeah.
so I can just, you know, pick up where I left off. And I only write in pen
Oh.
because sometimes if I scribble something out, it might be something that I end up liking later on and thinking
Okay.
that that works. I kind of deal with a lot of second guessing and you know what they say about second guessing. It's usually the first instinct that's the right one. So if I don't like a line that I've written, I just strike through once with my pen and then write whatever I feel like writing in that moment. And then when I go back and revisit and refine my work, I have those options of my like rejected lines, I guess you could say.
Yeah. But it could be the ones that you actually end up with anyway, so it's just
Exactly.
having options, okay, which one do I feel kind of fits this topic or poem at the time? I think that's clever. I think that writing with a pen kind of forces you to, well, like you said, avoid that second guessing, and if you do
Yes.
second guess, at least it's there, and it kind of force you to not have an eraser to erase all of those, because you really could be creating something magical, but you just got in your own head. So the pen forces you to just write it down. It'll be okay. And then I can always come back to it later and fine tune and really create something that I'm happy with.
Yeah, so never throw out or erase your artwork, even if you hate it, because you never know if you'll want to come back to it and refine it later. And another piece of wisdom would be to try your hardest to keep at it, even when you hit a creative block. Something really important that I learned this year is that creativity is a resource. So when you do have a block or self doubt, that usually means you need to take a break from it so that you can come back refreshed and with like a new set of eyes.
Yeah. So just stepping away, refresh, come back, regroup,
Yeah.
but not erasing the original ideas that you had. Because I think sometimes when we like create, we kind of hope for perfection or for this polished thing. But sometimes it's just a matter of getting your ideas on paper first and then coming back and being like, okay, now what can I do with what I put down on paper versus trying to create something magical and a masterpiece right then and there. Because I'm so guilty of that. I'm like, okay, if it's not going to come out great, then I don't want to do it at all.
Right. Yes, and I think that's such a common problem that all artists face is wanting it to be perfect right then and there, especially where, like, you've been at it for so long, you think, "Oh, I've been doing this forever, it should just be perfect the first time, every time," and that's not realistic.
Yeah. No, and we're always constantly evolving as far as like our
Mhm.
thoughts, our ideas, our inspiration, our skills, our skill set, and stuff like that. But the thing that I've started doing now is, at least at the end of this year, it's been a new development for me as far as a goal that I want to bring in or habit I want to bring into the new year. And it's really just having a sketchbook to kind of brain dump everything. And
Yes.
it's ugly, it's not great. Some of it's like super childlike and it doesn't make any sense, but I'm like, okay, well, at least I put it on paper and then come back to it later when I'm more mentally prepared to tackle it.
Absolutely. I think that's great. It's good to brain dump because as artists, when we feel that inspiration, sometimes we might just be going about our day, right? Could be just driving somewhere, could be grocery shopping, whatever it may be. And inspiration hits us and we're like, oh, I got to write it down. Like kind of start to panic a little bit. Like, I don't want it to escape me, and so it's good to have something just to, a scrap of paper or whatever, or like you said, a brain dump sketchbook. That I think that's great.
Yeah. On top of that, I like to add that don't let it sit for too long though, even like at the end of the day or at week's end, just to come back and see what you were thinking, because there's been times where I'll write it down and I don't look at it for months and I was like, "What was I trying to say here?" So I feel like
Right.
yeah. So if you wait too long on some of those thoughts, you're not gonna even be in the right headspace. So it's just rereading through some of that stuff, and it doesn't necessarily have to be daily, but maybe at the end of the day, you just be like, "Okay, what did I write today? What did I process or brain dump? And, did it make sense? If it was just a quick little thought, can I kind of express a little bit more of what I was thinking? Because then that way, when I do come back to it later, I'll have a better idea instead of just one word. I'm like, I don't know what I was trying to say there."
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And yeah, and I've even used my phone too. If I don't have a pen and paper handy, I just, phone is always connected to us, right?
Yeah.
So I just go in my notes and just write something. Or sometimes I'll just text something to
Mhm.
myself. Like, if it's a creative word that I just learned, I send
Mm.
it to myself real fast and, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I got to use that.
Do you ever have words that you write down that you've learned but you want to save that isn't technically in the dictionary or thesaurus? Because, like, I have my yearly journal that I started at the beginning of this year, and at the end of my journal, I have a list of words that I learned, but they're not exactly something that I would find in a normal setting. Like Herkle-Durkle. Have you ever heard of Herkle-Durkle? Like
I have not. I love it though.
right? It's amazing.
It
It's
is.
it's an old Scottish term meaning to lounge in bed long after it's time to get up. And I tell you, I like to Herkle-Durkle a lot, so, like, I had to save it. So I have a couple of words that I've found over the year and just wrote them down because I don't think it would be something where I would just find it in the dictionary, you know? I think it would be cool to
Right.
kinda just have your own library of words that you've just found over time, things that we wouldn't normally have in our regular vocabulary.
Absolutely. No, I think that's so important to come up with your own words too. Language is universal, right? And that's part of creativity too.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that just having that open mind that you don't necessarily have to have like a huge vocabulary to create something either. Because sometimes I
Yes.
feel like that self-doubt comes in because I'm not very articulate. Like, I've started reading more because I want to be and improving my reading skills and so forth, but there is a part of me that I'm like, I'm not a very strong writer, but I also don't take the time to improve those skills, so it's like, kinda have to practice to get better.
Right, exactly. But like you were saying, we're constantly evolving. And in order to evolve, you've got to keep at it and keep practicing. That's why I keep a dictionary handy and a thesaurus. So even in using words like that in your regular conversations too.
Yeah, that's true. That app that I was telling you, I can't even remember what app it is, I'm gonna have to look that up, but the one that gives you the word a day, it challenges you to learn a new word, but also implement it somehow in your day-to-day life. So you could also create different prompts or challenges or exercises to improve those skills without even picking up a pen. And then that would
Mhm.
improve your vocabulary so that when you are ready to write on a piece of paper, you have more of a understanding of how to use that word, and maybe it inspires you to use only that word to describe too. Because I've seen where
Yes.
instead of a full on sentence, you just have a word and then you have to create based off that word. So that would be a cool way to create as well.
Yes, absolutely. I've done that as well. Inktober for mostly for, drawing and painting. I decided because I'm part of a Discord that was doing Inktober, and I was like, well, I mean, drawing is great. I just want to hone my writing skills a bit better. So I'm going to do the Inktober prompts, but just with the words and create a poem with whatever that word evokes. So,
Yeah, I think that's really
yeah,
clever. I think that's a great way to use it and reinvent it for your creative journey, because I feel like some people are like, "Oh, that's for ink drawers." And it's like,
hmm,
"No, technically it's just the encouragement of creating when you're feeling that artist block and just getting people to create." So, for you to take it and turn it into a writing prompt, that's awesome.
yeah. And I think, that's also part of why we're creatives, right? Like we take something and we make it our own. So, yeah, I think anybody can anybody can do.
Yeah. All right, so we kind of discussed the hurdles and challenges of your creative path so far, but let's talk more about the accomplishments and the triumphs that you've pretty much experienced through this long time coming. I mean, like when you were 14, you started writing. So there had to been a lot of accomplishments throughout that journey as well.
Absolutely. There were certainly a lot. As I said, publishing my first book was amazing, and publishing my mom's poetry after she died was absolutely life-changing for me. It was beautiful to make her dream come true by sifting through her poems that she had just in a hat box and compiling them and turning them into something physical that I could hold, that my family could hold and read through and preserve her memory that way. And another accomplishment was publishing my other book, Waking Nightmares, because that was more fun and there wasn't really any intense emotions that I was dealing with at that time. And working with my illustrator to come up with a cool drawing to go with each poem was very, very fun. I allowed him to take creative liberty with most of them. Some of them I had a specific image in my head, but most of them I said, read the poem, sit with it, and whatever comes to mind, go ahead and draw it. It was really exciting to work with another creative and combine our passions. Another accomplishment would be gaining more confidence, especially with this YouTube channel, just being able to combine both of my passions for video editing as well as writing. It's been very fun to challenge myself in that way. And I don't know if you've ever touched video editing software, but it is like a whole other language that you have to learn. And it's been very fun learning how to do it to make more engaging videos and make my poems more imaginative.
Yeah, definitely. So, you mentioned during this interview that you started writing poems kind of the inspiration from your mom and her kind of helping you start that passion because she writes poems and that you actually published a book of her poems. What kind of poems does she like to write about? Because you mentioned that you kind of like the horror, spooky, as well as like taking your emotions and putting them onto paper. Does she kind of do the same thing or does she do different types of poems?
Yes, her poems were a whirlwind of emotions. Going through them, there were a lot of love poems. She felt just tremendous love for everyone in her life, really, whether it be familial love, platonic love, romantic love. And she also wrote heartbreak poems. And, she dealt with a lot of heartbreak and trauma in her lifetime. Let's see. There were some spooky ones that she wrote too, which I thought was very interesting that I ended up going down that avenue as well. There were a lot of angry poems as well, and a lot of sad ones, a lot of melancholy. So, like I said, a whirlwind.
Yeah. Did she store them in a journal as well or did she store them differently?
Funnily enough, they were all stored on random scraps of paper in a hat box that
I
was
l-
nestled underneath her bed.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's funny too because, after she died, I got all of her items and, when I was going through them, I found the hat box. And then as I was going through more of her stuff, just in random places, I'd find a scrap of paper that had a poem on it. So I really tried my best to gather them all
Yeah.
and keep them in that hat box.
How did you go about deciding which poems to put in the book, or did you put all of them? I mean, I feel like reading through them, did you just kind of categorize them in genre since she did such a wide variety, or you kind of threw just some of your favorites into the book and got it published?
Good question. Well, she would tell me often that she wanted to publish her poems. And that was basically as far as the conversations ever went. She would just say, "Oh, I really would like to put my poems in a book someday." And so just going off of that, I put all of them into the book. So the book is 118 pages long, and I just put them in alphabetical order because there's so many. I just figured, it would make the table of contents look nicer as well if they were in alphabetical order, and it would be easier to find a favorite to look back on and read.
Yeah.
And I had done it to make that dream of hers come true. And I had originally published it just for my family. And I was kind of just using Amazon as the platform so they could print it.
Yeah,
And I
right.
was like, oh, yeah, I'll just give it to my family. But I was rereading it the other day, and her work is like, it's magnificent, honestly. And, you know, I think that her words could really help people. And she always wanted it to because she had been through a lot in her life and, was such a caring and compassionate person towards other people. And she always felt that we're put on this earth to help each other
Yeah.
and get each other through things. And she always had that philosophy. And so I think that's mostly why she wanted to publish her book. So I'm really grateful that I had that opportunity and that I was able to find all of them and put them together for her to keep her art forever.
Yeah. Well, it'll be something that will be forever remembered by her, as well as I think that she would have been so happy to hear that you published them for her, because
Hmm.
sometimes it's hard to take that step yourself,
Hmm.
to show your vulnerability and to show that side of things to the world. And so taking the initiative to share it as she would have wanted is great. And I'm trying not to get all emotional here, but I think she'd be really proud of you and taking steps forth to not only share her work, but share your own work as well. And just stepping out into the unknown and just here I am, and it takes
Yeah.
a lot to do as a creative to share yourself to the world. And I think the best part is when you do find those people that understand and relate and connect with what you created, because there's just this feeling of like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not alone in this. And I'm so glad that I could help someone process these emotions and feelings. So it's kind of just passing along and making it a little bit easier for the next person. And I think the connection just between humans is just, it's so much better off when we all create, because if we keep it all inside, then it's just lonely and isolating. So being able to just share our love for creating and our passions and our emotions, and it's crazy to look back on some of those projects too. I bet like even just looking back on your old poems, it's just like, wow, I've like grown so much since then, just showing the progression of being able to put your emotion on paper, but also just how you do it too, I'm sure has changed or shifted a little bit.
Yes.
And it's just creating in any art form is just, it's magical and it's heartwarming, and I don't know how many words I can come up with, but I think you get
Hmm.
the idea. It's
Yes.
just, it goes a long way, and I cannot wait to read all 3. And I will obviously share all your information in the description so both our communities and our people can check it out. And it was just so lovely to have you on this podcast interview and getting to know you a little bit better. I mean, we do know each other through book club, but it's sort of like
Acquaintances.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
once a month kind of deal. So it'll be really nice to now know more moving forward. Next book club, we'll have
Yes.
to talk some more about writing and stuff like that. Maybe you can show me how to how to get started.
I would love to. I would love to.
Yeah.
And thank you for saying all of that really kind stuff about my mom. I really just felt so guided by her the entire time. And so to see it just come to fruition was really amazing. And I know it meant a lot to my family as well because she was the glue that held us all together.
I know what you mean. My aunt
Yeah.
was that for our family and she passed away this summer.
Mhm.
So it's it's a weight.
My condolences. It is a
Yeah.
weight. And yeah, it's really good to know that her art will live on. And
Yeah.
like you were saying, it's good for us all to be creative and have something to show for our tough things that we deal with. And like, I don't know any, I don't know any person who hasn't gone through something hard in their lives. And it's so important that we share those hard times because it helps us appreciate the good times when they come around.
Yeah. Been helping those other people get through the hard times just a little easier, hopefully, too. Because when you haven't experienced it before and then you experience it, you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to feel. And this is a lot.
Mhm.
But then knowing that someone else is out there that knows exactly where you're at in that moment and just shedding just a little bit of love and hope and stuff like that, it's like, okay, if they can get through it, I can get through it too.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree. Yeah, and I've really loved being on your podcast, and again, thank you so much. It has been an honor, and I really hope that everyone who's listening feels guided and feels compelled to start creating themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And of course, no doubt I will have you on this podcast again. We gotta keep up to date and everything. I
Yes.
was telling my other interviewees that even if it's a year or two from now, I just want to keep up to date and see how everybody's doing in our creative endeavors.
Yes, I would love to be on again.
Yeah, this is the first, but not the last time you'll see Annathia. So
Great.
all right, people. Well, do me a favor and go subscribe to her YouTube channel, go follow her on Instagram, and go buy her poem books on Amazon. And all the information will be in the description. So be sure to reach out to us if you have any questions. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Anathea, so much for being here.
Thank you, and thank you all for listening. Everybody take care of yourselves.
Yes, definitely. What a truly heartwarming conversation. Talking with Anathea was such a reminder that creativity doesn't only come from joy, it also comes from love, memory, and honoring the people who shaped us. Losing someone we love is never easy, but continuing forward in their honor can be incredibly powerful. What Anathea did by publishing their mother's poems, turning a lifelong dream into reality after their passing, is such a beautiful act of love and remembrance. It's proof that art can carry stories far beyond us and keep voices alive in meaningful ways. Be sure to follow and support Anathea on Instagram and YouTube. And if their words resonate with you, I highly recommend checking out their published poetry books on Amazon. I've linked everything in the description so it's easy to find. And as always, if you're a creative and you'd like to share your story on Canvas and Conversations, I'd love to hear from you. Just send an email to devin@mindovermatastudio.com and we'll get something scheduled. Until next time, keep creating in whatever way feels good to you. Goodbye for now.